One envelope. $500 that disappeared from the school fundraiser shattered a family's life and the future of hundreds of children. The school fundraiser. The evening at Raleigh's school dragged slowly. The corridors were empty. Only the secretary's office was lit by a yellow lamp. Linda sat at her desk with metal drawers that screeched every time she moved. On her lap, her purse. Inside, the envelope. $500 from the school's field trip fund. A small sum, but it weighed as if it could break through the floor. Earlier that day, the principal had stopped by to chat. Instead of discussing reports, he showed her another photo from his stapler collection. "See this? A swing line 24. Only one specimen left in good condition. I might even sell my car to get it." His eyes sparkled as if he were talking about a rare diamond. Linda nodded, thinking of something else. Her husband once again complaining about debts and urgent business. He had promised to fix everything if she gave him some cash. That very day, he had brought home a brochure about buying plots on the moon and another titled, "Invest in Talking Hamsters. The Future is Here." Linda half listened, knowing where the money would go, as always. She looked at the accounting ledger. Bus, tickets, museum, meals, all listed. She knew it was a crime, yet her hand tore open the seal on the envelope. The crunch of paper sounded like something cracking inside her. "A loan, just a loan," she whispered. "I'll return it in a week." The phrase felt like a prayer, but even the lamp above her flickered as if it didn't believe her. In the parking lot, Tracy Carson, the ever-enthusiastic mom, was live-streaming for her parent channel, telling subscribers how the school was preparing the kids for the trip. Her phone camera often caught the secretary's office window where Linda sat. Linda loved to point out details nobody else notices. Linda slipped the money into her bag and shut the ledger. She didn't notice that in the storage room where new textbooks would later be delivered, several boxes marked triangle surplus had been unloaded. Crooked seals, odd symbols. For now they seemed like an insignificant detail. By morning, the children would laugh and plan their museum day. None of them would know the trip had already begun to crack at the seams. Late evening. Linda entered the kitchen. The ceiling light flickered, ready to die. On the table lay empty beer cans and a glossy brochure. "Invest in lunar real estate. The future is near." Beside it, a leaflet with a smiling hamster in a tie. "Talking pets for smart investors." Her husband sat in a chair, shuffling a deck of cards without looking at her. "Did you do what you promised?" she asked quietly. "I did. Well, almost. I invested. There's this project," he faltered. "Hamsters, the moon. You know." "Again?" "It's reliable. This time for sure." He spoke quickly, stammering, as if trying to convince himself. Linda silently looked at the dirty dishes in the sink. That night, coming home from work, she found him in the backyard. By the fence stood a wiry little man in a worn leather jacket and cowboy boots. A crooked grin, chewing gum. In his hands, a bundle of balloons with "Good Luck" printed on them. "Roy Pike," he introduced himself. "Your man promised me a cut. Where's the money?" "Tomorrow, Tomorrow, he rushed. We're in the deal. Serious investments. Hamsters. You know. I know that if tomorrow there isn't at least $100, I'll come back without balloons. Roy punctured one with his cigarette. The pop echoed through the yard. Linda watched from the window, hiding behind the curtain. Her husband's voice trembled, words tumbling over each other. Roy smirked, pointing a finger toward the school building behind their house. Funny, huh? Always loved the balloons by the school entrance. Good luck. Might come in handy. A week later, her husband returned home later than usual. His eyes bloodshot, smelling of cheap whiskey. The money, it's gone. All gone, he said without meeting her eyes. All of it? All of it. Linda said nothing. On the table lay the school ledger. The field trip fund column gaped empty. She ran her finger along the line like over a crack in glass. In that moment, she understood the debt would never return. The school was deserted that evening. Only Linda's lamp cast a trembling circle of light. In front of her lay accounting books and blank forms. Her hand shook as she wrote educational materials. The ink smeared, the letters crooked, as if even the paper refused the lie. She closed her eyes. If there are records, there is truth, she told herself. But inside she knew it wasn't truth. It was a thin film ready to shatter. Next day, she went to the school supply store. Behind the counter sat a thin clerk with glasses, muttering to himself, "They need notebooks, or maybe rulers. No, wait, a receipt for what? Textbooks, of course." He looked up. "What do you need?" "Textbooks." "Right. 2 receipts?" "1. "Fine, but I'll make 2, just in case." He handed her both slips, each for a different amount. Linda took them without protest. The dark humor stung, but she had no choice. She returned to school with boxes. The storage room smelled of dust and paint. Pallets stacked unevenly. One box stood out. Triangle surplus. Swollen cardboard, peeling tape. Linda bent down, opened it. Inside were the same books, but underneath, a shoebox. Old cardboard, cracked tape. She opened it. Bundles of cash. A notebook with crooked handwriting. Football Booster Club. Dues. Linda froze. Not her money, not the school's, not from the fund. Someone else's, but enough to cover the hole. She quickly shut the box, wrapped it in an old bag, shoved it deep into the cabinet. Her heart pounded as if she'd been caught already. "Just a loan," she whispered, no longer sure whose loan she meant. Footsteps in the corridor. She switched off the light and hid behind the door. The steps faded, but the feeling lingered, as if the money and notebook were watching her through the cardboard. Spring hummed in Raleigh's schoolyard, but beneath the cheerful noise, a crack widened. The trip was canceled, officially, for organizational reasons. Parents gathered in the auditorium, smelling of thermos coffee and cheap perfume. Tracy Carson sat in the front row, phone on a tripod, chat scrolling. What are they hiding? Funds gone again? Where's the museum? Tracy smirked into the camera. "See, I'm recording everything. No one will dodge this." The principal spoke of educational materials, his voice muffled as if underwater. Parents exchanged looks. One man raised his hand. "Maybe we should just buy the kids bricks. Let them study gravity firsthand." Laughter burst out, nervous, uneasy. Linda lowered her eyes to her folder. Papers slid beneath her fingers, but numbers refused to focus. At that moment, the door opened. A guard admitted a short man carrying a pizza box. On the lid, written in red marker, "For Roy." "Delivery," he muttered. "Oh, thanks," said the guard, waving him in. Roy Pike passed by, winking at Linda. Along with the pizza, he carried those same foolish good luck balloons. Tracy swung her phone toward him. "See? Even the delivery looks suspicious today." Comments exploded with emojis. When the meeting ended, Linda gathered her documents. As Tracy walked past, she noticed something. On the lid of a shoebox, peeking from under the papers, lay a fresh streak of dust, as if it had just been pulled from storage. "Oh, what's that?" she asked too sweetly. "Archives," Linda answered shortly, clutching the box closer. "Interesting. Very—" Tracy nodded, eyes narrowing. That evening, Tracy's stream gained hundreds of views. In frame, Linda with her box. Comments read, "What's in the dusty box? Keep an eye on her." Linda sat at home with the box on her lap, her breath uneven. She understood the real danger was no longer in the ledgers, but in the fact that Tracy had the whole town in her sights. The auditors arrived in the morning, 2 men and a woman in stiff suits. They laid out folders, laptops, piles of papers. At first, it looked like dry routine, but within minutes, it turned into farce. "I'm telling you, the best burgers at Benny's Grill," one insisted, clicking his pen. "No, Patty Shack only. They've got the right sauce," the other argued. "Oh, please," the woman rolled her eyes, quietly collecting another stapler, third that day, whispering, "I have to collect all the models, at least the rare number 24. Linda sat across from them, clutching her folder like a shield. Papers trembled in her hands. At the same time, a truck pulled into the schoolyard. Farm day, someone's idea of fun. Chickens, goats, and to everyone's horror, an ostrich. The bird broke free, bolted through the corridor, and crashed into a fire hydrant. Sprinklers went off. Water poured straight into the office. Documents soaked, ink blurred. Auditors scrambled to close laptops. Children screamed in the halls. Linda saw her chance. She slipped a hand into the folder, trying to swap report sheets. But there stood Tracy Carson with her phone, camera on. "Look, look, she's changing something," she whispered into her stream. Water dripped from the ceiling. Linda dropped the box of documents. Out slid the shoebox. The lid fell, spilling bundles of cash, and the crooked notebook. Football Booster Club, dues. The auditors froze. Tracy zoomed in. Chat comments flew. "There it is! Proof!" One auditor lifted the notebook. Pages flipped fast before the ink dissolved completely. "There's a name," he said. "See, school board member Mr. Hall. These funds vanished too." Silence in the office grew deafening. It was suddenly clear Linda wasn't the only one stealing. Stakes were higher. Outside, ostrich feet thundered, children shrieked, but inside, all eyes fixed on Linda and the open box. The verdict was blunt, suspended, Case referred to police. Linda walked out of the principal's office holding a folder like a funeral wreath. At home, another surprise. Her husband's suitcase by the door. He spoke fast, clipped. "I'm leaving with Jerry. He's a realtor, lunar, a real pro. We're opening an office. Technically without an office yet, but that's just time. You're abandoning the kids? The moon won't wait." The door slammed. The wedding portrait on the wall quivered. Days later, the police report arrived at school. 2 cases, Linda's embezzlement and old schemes of board member Hall. The town buzzed. Newspaper headline, "Who stole our children's trust?" Teachers sat in silence. Parents filed transfer requests. Linda's children walked the corridors with lowered eyes. Whispers followed. "That's them." That night, Linda met Roy in the storage room. Empty boxes, the smell of dust and old paint. He said, "The money." I said, "It's gone." He said, "You're lying." He stepped toward her, good luck balloons dangling. Linda backed into a table. On its edge, a stapler, left behind by an auditor. Roy grabbed her arm, a scuffle, a balloon popped. Roy cried out, dropped the stapler, clutched his palm. The metal staple pierced to skin. "Damn," he said, sitting on the floor, sucking blood from his hand. "See," Linda said, "that's your share." He laughed through the pain, the sound hollow, more threatening than words. Later, Linda sat by the window, the house silent. Outside, neighbors' footsteps. She thought everything had collapsed, not because of the amount, but because everyone wanted a piece. Her husband, Roy, the board, even Tracy's random viewers. At school, the children kept silent. Teachers turned away. The town lived as if nothing had happened. But for Linda, the world shrank to the size of an empty box and a stapler with traces of blood. The school still stood. Walls hadn't crumbled, doors hadn't shut. But the crack in trust gaped wider than any crack in brick. Now, every fundraiser ran under cameras. Parents tuned in to live streams, watching money drop into transparent boxes, commenting, "Counting together, don't forget the receipt." The scandal lingered. A month later, the principal was dismissed. Official reason? Misuse of funds. The report listed a rare stapler model, number 24, purchased with the school budget. Photos of the collection spread across social media. Ironic memes titled "The Tool of Trust" circulating around town. Linda received a suspended sentence. She repaid the money, sold the car, some furniture, but her name never returned. On the street, neighbors looked past her. At the store, the cashier tossed change without a word. Children avoided her. Tracy Carson released a final video, "How We Almost Lost Our School." Clips from meetings, from storage, from the chaotic day when an ostrich ran down the corridor. Comments poured in. Some wrote, "Linda is fully guilty." Others argued, "The system was rotten long ago." The video gained more views than any school concert. In the empty gym stood boxes of unused textbooks. On top, gathering dust, the very stapler number 24, confiscated with the collection. Someone had taped a note, "Do not touch." In the light from the window, dust on the textbooks shimmered like thin snow. Where children's voices should have echoed, silence reigned. The price of the mistake lay not in dollars or papers, but in the emptiness that settled in every corner of the school.